Hey Devil Hunters, it's Reign of Dragoon here with another Devil May Cry video, only this time, things aren't going to be so stylish for our Devil Hunter Dante. Due to the high popularity that Dante was experiencing from Devil May Cry, a sequel was quickly greenlit, which actually didn't turn out to be the most stylish experience for our Devil Hunter. It suffered through a time where there was a big push from arcade games to console titles, and of course that also meant developers learning new tricks. According to Daigo Aikino, a former monster and stage designer, the arcade division had been picked to oversee the DMC sequels, which is a bit of an interesting choice, but not without merit. If you do look at the combat of the original title, you do see a multitude of combat loops that are very similar to fighting game exploits. But then, why was Devil May Cry 2 a third-person shooter with analog rotation for combat variety? I know it's not supposed to seem like that on the surface, but that's essentially what it plays like. It seems like a strange choice in design and, well, clearly didn't execute well to the audience. Apparently there was a producer on the game that didn't like the, and I quote, joke-cracking wise-ass that was Dante in the first game, thus changes were made to Dante as a character.
Block off, Featherface, or you can stick around and find out the hard way.
No!
Crap like that doesn't interest me. But your swan song will.
Katsuya Akitomo, a writer, was asked to change things up once again for Dante by Moriyashi, who did minor support to the game such as translation. He would later become a writer for Devil May Cry, the animated series, and Devil May Cry 4. Unfortunately, the game was already well into production, and he could only make minor adjustments to Dante's characterization. There is also another playable protagonist I haven't even gotten around to mentioning yet: Lucia. Lucia in concept was actually a pretty cool idea, and if anything, I think her in-game design looks pretty sweet, but there is so much lacking in the character, depth being that. I'm not the only one, among many others, who think this apparently. Both Akino and Moriyashi weren't crazy about the lack of any emotion and sympathy for the character. I will say, I am pretty satisfied about the game's ending, as it does see Dante riding off to hell to defend the human world just like his father did long ago.
Yeah, let's go all the way to hell.
So what even is Devil May Cry 2 about? I will loosely explain the story in summary in case you do decide to touch on this title in the series. We follow Dante, who is summoned by a woman named Lucia, who wants to hire Dante to look into and take down a big corporate CEO named Arius, who seeks the power of Argozax, a powerful demon that was sealed away long ago by this little granny and some of her friends long ago, Matier. Arius requires Arcana pieces in order to obtain the power he seeks, in which case it's up to Dante, or well, you, to stop him. Though Arius is thwarted, the gate to the demon world is let loose, and it's up to Dante to seal it away once again. So, I don't hate the story at all. In fact, in theory, I kinda do love it, especially the ending with Dante following in his father's footsteps. The problem is nothing in this game ever holds any emotional weight. Half the time you're asking yourself, if I wasn't this big, white-haired, demon-slaying badass, would I even really care? I like Lucia's gameplay because it's a change of pace from Dante, but I don't find myself thinking of her much other than, oh yeah, she exists. Nothing even remotely as memorable as Lady from Devil May Cry 3.
Holy fucking shit.
The combat is there. You can do it, if you want. In fact, I encourage you to do it. Please do anything other than this. I probably wouldn't rat on this game as much if there wasn't literal boss fights that all you do is shoot at with your guns. You know, in a hack and slash game. On a good note, when you're fighting enemy mobs, the combat gets significantly better because you have more room to actually experiment. And I will say, this game does have some cool animation. I have played worse PlayStation 2 games than this, but it's no excuse when its predecessor set the bar as high as it already did. Some of the designs, however, are some of my favorite in a Devil May Cry game, which I can give it. I really like Dante's outfit, and I'm not talking about the random Diesel promo, but the red and black leather coat. I wish this costume was accessible in later titles. Arius is a pretty decent villain. He's the stereotypical evil corporation guy you typically know in other media. Lucia's design is pretty sweet. I think it's unique, and her devil trigger, or should I say angel trigger, is one of the coolest things in the game. Speaking of Devil Trigger, if you use Devil Trigger when Dante's HP is at 10%, you will see him transform into Majin form. It's a more bestial and angry looking version of Sparta. It doesn't have any significance in the story, at least for DMC2 anyway, and even almost acts as a secret as the mechanic isn't expressed to the player in the game or the manual. I actually really enjoyed this mechanic and how risky it was to pull off. I almost felt like it was a fever dream when I was a kid and wasn't even sure if it actually exists. I'm here to confirm it does. Overall, Devil May Cry 2 is a roller coaster ride, and not necessarily your favorite roller coaster ride. I wouldn't say it's the worst experience on PlayStation 2, and compared to others, it's actually a pretty good game. But in the overgrown shadow of Devil May Cry 1 though, there's no way this one stands even close to the style and complexity the first game offers, let alone its out-of-touch boring characters. I'd have to give the game a solid 5 out of 10.
I mean, it's alright, like...
It definitely is playable and cohesive, but it isn't the best experience in the gaming world by any means. I will give this game's bonus content a stylish slap on the wrist though, as if you beat the game on the hardest difficulty, you can unlock Trish as a playable character who actually functions like Dante from DMC1 while wielding Sparta. I hope you enjoyed stopping by and listened to my video game ramblings. Devil May Cry 2 is a messy, yet nostalgic experience. I can't really say I recommend this game, but I can't stress this enough. Some of the design choices and set pieces are my favorite in the series. Until next time, Devil Hunters.